It's fun for me to be up here. And Gerald and others have talked about the honor flight, which is a great lead-in for me. Now, one of the things about the honor flight, I'm passing around the cane. Some of you have seen the cane that I have had, and it's a memorial and it's individualized. If any of you are interested in it, the wood carving is the American Eagle. It gives my time in the service, and it's kind of a wonderful memento, and some of you might enjoy that. Now, what I'm going to do today is first I'd like to check the audience. Are there any World War II vets here? Is there a Korean vet here? There's 1, 2 Korean vets. Aha, then you will particularly appreciate it. Of course, are there any non-vets here? Any youngsters here? We have 3 or 4. So a lot of you then have witnessed it. The other thing is I look at this audience and how privileged we are. Virtually every one of you have been to Washington, D.C. How many of you have seen the World War II Air Force Memorial? 1, 2, 3, 4, quite a few, all right. I want you to know that on the honor flight, some of the people that I knew have not been as fortunate as we were. They'd never even been to Washington. So it's bingo. Okay, let's go, Moose. What is an honor flight? It's the 14-hour day or 15-hour day, one day, where we fly to Washington to see the war memorials. And I'm going to do a couple of things because I don't think many of you are old enough to remember World War II, and I'm going to try to position it a little bit. Also, I'm going to give you a very brief synopsis because remember, everyone who was in the war has a story. And I'll give you my story as quickly as I can. So I'll try to be brief. I'll start with my story. It starts like this. On December 8th, 1941, remember that date? You all remember December 7th. Well, on December 8th, I was a freshman at New Trier High School, and we got to go to the auditorium, and here it is. December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, no matter how long it takes. Some of you memorized this in school, the day of infamy. I want you to know that that's the day that changed my life. And in World War II, I believe there were 3 million people dead or wounded in the whole thing. What that means is, I don't care whether you were at church, your family, you worked. There were about 160 million Americans at that time, and 16 million were directly or indirectly involved in the war, 1 out of 10. By the way, I look at you professional women. There were 6 million women involved in the war directly and indirectly. And so everybody knew about World War II. So my story goes like this. If I start to talk too fast, will Andy or someone raise your hand and I'll slow down. At age 14, my contribution was to aid the country become an officer, which meant education. The more education you had, the more likely you were to be able to make a better contribution. So, high school, fun, graduated age 16. You may play ball, but during the summer, you worked. You graduated age 16, age 17, after a semester where the good Benedictine monks taught me 1 year of physics in 8 weeks. And oh yes, I was not working hard enough, so they added trigonometry. Then I went to MIT. What a bunch of brilliant nerds they were. Not much fun. So I transferred to the University of Michigan, and was a walk-on and was a defensive tackle because I was so big. At 6'2.5" and 210 pounds. I now have a 14-year-old granddaughter who's 6 feet. Fortunately, she's not 210 pounds. At any rate, at age 18, don't forget the draft. You were drafted or you volunteered. At age 18, I volunteered and was accepted as a midshipman in the Merchant Marine Academy, which of course I'd never heard of till my father came home and said the only way to get an officer now is go to the Merchant Marine Academy, you'll be in the Naval Reserve, you'll get a naval thing. 4 months later, after the freshman year, in 4 months, where we went to class 6 to 8 hours a day, and at night I tutored everybody because my high school classmates were overwhelmed, but MIT in Michigan, what's the big deal? So I ended up pretty high, and that's where I became a teacher because every night I was the tutor. 4 months later, beautiful South Pacific.
Next one. Oh.
What happened to me? Did I go by? Go back. Back. You're going the wrong way. Go back. Go back.
No, the other way. Okay.
Next.
That's that funny guy at 18. That's what I looked like. And then I'll tell you what happened to me at the Merchant Marine. My ship, there we go. My ship class, I was in a bulk carrier general cargo. There were 173 of them built, and all we did was carry odd-sized cargo, bags, pallets, etc. It was a shallow port. It was the next one. Well, I'll tell you, my ship, the Cape John, for you sailors, 459 feet, beam 63 feet, draft 25 feet, power 440 pounds per square inch, turbine, speed 15.5 knots, 5 holes. My under fire experience lasted 30 seconds. Guess what our cargo was? Gasoline, kerosene, and acetylene.
It could have been more shorter.
Gasoline, kerosene, etc.
Was there anyone smoking on the boat?
Of course, about 3 packs a day, let me tell you. Now, our ship went 15.5 knots. Most of you probably don't know it, but the submarines underwater could go 6 to 8 knots. A Liberty ship could go 6 to 8 knots. They were in convoys. We at 15 knots, we were lone wolves. We were out there by ourselves. And obviously the submarine had to lay and wait for us to come. And my only experience was, we're going along cruising at 15 knots. All of a sudden the skipper up on the deck, takes that thing that he whirls back and forth, and it said, blow everything. And the entire engine room where I was scrambled like crazy. We had about 2 of the boilers going, or 2 of the firemen with boilers, and all of a sudden 4 of them were going. And all of you have been on a water ski when you're pulling someone behind, and all of a sudden you say go, and you slam down, and the water ski comes up. Well, this great big monster that I was on was the same thing. When we blew all the safety valves, the skipper sat down and said, you may as well send the kid up, because if we go, we go. So I race up the 7 flights of stairs, lean over the rail. Everybody's lined up leaning over the rail. And they said, there it is, kid, watch, watch, watch. You've been to the movies, you've seen the torpedo coming along. Well, let me tell you, our big ship started to shudder and moved. We just watched this thing come. And I watched that puppy go behind us. That's the only reason I'm here. So my wartime experience, 40 seconds, but man, go, no go. That's my, let's go to now the honor flight. I wanted to set this up because you should understand honor flight's a big deal to us. Now, the honor flight, it makes VIP for a day. And really, it's never too late to thank a veteran. Obviously, now for the veteran, it's free. The Guardian, when I went up in northern Michigan, was $500. Now, Linda is here, and this club has sponsored a Guardian. Because let me tell you, the 90 to 94-year-old veterans, about half of them do not have guardians. And Linda was nice enough, and I appreciate Linda. She not only went, but she had to give up a day's pay. But this Rotary Club should be proud. I understand now that the Guardian flights here are $400. They were $5 when I was up there. By the way, I was on the list here, but I didn't come up because up in northern Michigan, there aren't as many veterans as there are down here. But, so what do? You go to Washington, as Gerald said, you visit the memorials. Most of you don't know that there are about 130 cities or hubs around the country that have been doing this. And over 20,000 World War II vets have come, and they've recently started to take some Korean vets, as I understand it. So some of you who are Korean vets or who are friends of Korean vets are now eligible to go. This is the start. It's quite something. We got there at 5:30 the night before. The veterans and the Guardians were given our outfits, and you'll notice the name tag that I have. And the veterans all sit around, and most of you who know veterans are aware of the fact that they don't talk much about it. Well, let me tell you, the World War II vets talk to each other about it. And it was sort of fun because the Guardians were taken for their orientation. And my son thought that was pretty funny, but they went. And one of the things, because of walkers and wheelchairs, the vets weren't allowed to do anything. We were served, but we went to bed. And at 5:30 in the morning, the bugle call went off. You know, you gotta get up in the morning. 7:30, we were at the airport. You get to the airport, and there are welcomes, there are handshakes next. And what's kind of fun, there's an honor guard, which is impressive. Then you go on, and right off the bat, you can see 7:30 in the morning, wheelchairs, guys being pushed. Did we go through security? Then we go to a chartered American airline flight. Mine, 60 veterans, 60 Guardians, 60 wheelchairs, a nurse and a vet. Because you can imagine, with that load, the nurses, and they say, this, everything you can imagine has happened on this. Guys have died on this flight. But you land in Washington, D.C., and what do you know? You get on your bus, motorcycle escort, feel pretty good. Then you were up World War II monument. Some of you, most of you have been there, so you know how big it is. You know how impressive it is. It's beautiful. And the scale is kind of fun. in that they just turned us loose. See that big tower? That's for one of the 4 theaters of the war. And kind of the engineers are proud of it because the wind determines how high the fountain is. If it's no wind, it's a high fountain. If it's a wild wind, so people can walk around and not get drowned. But after you simply wander around, you get a lecture, and you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner of this is my guardian. Now, it happens that my guardian, Maurice F. Dunne III, USMA, Military Academy, 1984, U.S. Army Captain, retired, 68th Battalion, 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment, Berlin Brigade. In his guardian role, stick like glue to a vet. Always have the wheelchair at the ready. By the way, at the monument, I mean, it's terrific. Bronze inserts, these 2x4 different bronze, and everybody can find their outfit, whether you're the Marine, etc. I found a merchant marine, a victory ship with cargo, the depth bombs. But now, they even had the Merchant Marine insignia, which was interesting. And by the way, we Merchant Marine were not veterans until President Clinton. There was a fight going on with the longshoremen, and it was, after all, we made a bloody fortune, et cetera, et cetera. That was the word that was out. The numbers are a little different than that. But I wanted to show you, again, the picture of my son, the 2 of us. Back up. Now, you'll notice my name tag. You'll notice my